You know, we've all seen the charts. Gemini 3 Pro, it dominates nearly every single AI benchmark category.
Oh, absolutely. It's statistical supremacy. We are
Very true.
talking about dominance in math, reasoning, visual understanding.
Mm.
It's hard to look at those numbers and not be, incredibly impressed.
But here's the uncomfortable truth. The AI with the absolute best scores isn't always the best one to actually work with.
Right.
There's this paradox between what a benchmark says an AI can do and what makes it suitable for a real job. Let's unpack that today.
That is the core issue we need to tackle.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a powerful new set of sources about the latest AI powerhouse, Gemini 3 Pro. We're going to cut right through the hype.
And our mission for you is simple.
Hmm?
Discover where G3P's raw power really shines. We're talking research, prototyping, and media, and where it surprisingly misses the mark.
Especially for creative work in those big, complex coding
Yeah.
projects. We'll look at the numbers, the real-world tests, and then figure out which model you should actually be reaching for. Okay, so let's start with the facts. The benchmarks. The dominance is real.
It is. That's the starting point. G3P is the clear leader across almost every metric that matters in advanced AI testing. We're talking complex mathematical reasoning, massive multitask language understanding scores.
And these aren't small wins, right? The gaps are huge.
They're substantial, not marginal victories. This is complete statistical champion status. Full stop.
What's fascinating to me is that models usually have their specialty, maybe logic, maybe creative writing.
Correct. But the data suggests G3P is built to perform in everything, all at once. It's kind of reset the standard for multimodal tasks.
Meaning it understands more than just text.
Right. It handles video understanding better than any previous model. It sees, understands, and reasons across images and text far more effectively.
But there's one key exception to this total domination.
Yes, and it's a big one for developers. If we drill down into coding benchmarks, specifically that SWE Bench Verified test, the data shows Claude Sonnet 4.5 is still slightly better
At what specifically?
at fixing complex multi-file bugs over time. But outside of that very specific niche, G3P is the champion.
So if the scores are so high, what fundamentally do benchmarks fail to measure?
They miss the softer factors.
Yeah.
The workflow feel, pragmatic thinking, and they completely ignore communication style.
So let's talk about where that raw power becomes immediately useful. Our sources say deep research is the first big win.
Oh, it's arguably the best AI research tool ever created. What it does is it effectively collapses the entire research pipeline.
The whole process. Finding papers, reading, summarizing.
All of it. That entire manual process is just
Oh, okay.
gone.
Tell us about the live test that showed this. The prompt sounded pretty intense.
It was designed to stress the model, for sure.
Hmm.
It had to research complex machine learning concepts, explain them simply, and detail LLM training step by step.
That's a lot of synthesis for one go.
It is. And G3P took just 45 seconds to plan its attack. Just to plan. It identified primary and secondary concepts it needed to weave in.
45 seconds just for planning? What about the output?
In just under 3 minutes, it generated a full, structured, in-depth research report. It synthesized info from hundreds of sources simultaneously.
Wow.
For a knowledge worker, that genuinely saves hours.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The source is called the one-click magic.
Yeah, this is the killer feature. After generating that report, you can instantly convert the findings into a complete website, a Google Doc, a quiz, flashcards, or even an audio podcast script.
So it's not just research, it's asset creation.
It turns raw research into finished, formatted assets immediately. It's a whole content engine. It saves not just minutes, but hours by collapsing that entire workflow.
So it turns searching, reading, combining, and formatting into a single action.
That's it exactly, a single prompt.
Okay, so beyond research, what about creating things? We heard about a pretty wild stress test involving a 3D game.
Yes, the developer stress test. The task is very specific. Make a 3D first-person shooter using Three.js, and it has to be in just one single HTML file.
No external dependencies.
None. It has to be playable, responsive, and functional, all in one go.
That sounds like a monumental task for a single prompt.
It is. It demands massive context awareness. And the result. In about 1 minute, G3P produced a fully functional 3D FPS game.
You're kidding?
Not at all. It had sound effects, a working power-up system, bullets firing correctly from the visual gun model on screen. The sources called the output, quote, the best code scene for this test.
Whoa! I mean, just imagine scaling this speed. It's like stacking these incredibly complex Lego blocks of data to build a prototype instantly.
That is a massive shift in development
It's
speed.
F-taking.
It's critical to note the distinction here, though. This excels at prototypes.
Right. Rapid proof of concept demos, but not necessarily long-term production apps.
So does this speed mean we should use G3P for all rapid software development? Not quite. It is absolutely unmatched for quick V1 demos.
Yeah.
But we're going to see why it still struggles with that long-term complex application development.
Let's pivot to visuals. The analysis calls this the best AI image generator of all time. Why such a strong endorsement?
Because the key differentiator isn't just generating beautiful images. A
Yeah.
lot of models can do that now.
Right.
It's consistency and complex editing.
Yeah.
Most models they fall apart when you try to make small, iterative edits. They lose the plot completely.
So tell us about the YouTube thumbnail editing test.
It handled 3 major edits on one image flawlessly. First, changing the text. AI made this to 100% made by AI,
Right.
perfect text matching.
Okay.
Second, resizing an arrow and focusing on a woman, perfect enlargement, no distortion. And third, swapping the entire background to the Eiffel Tower, 0 errors.
So the magic is in maintaining that consistency across multiple steps.
Exactly. Every element stayed intact unless it was explicitly told to change. This really hints at the Google advantage, right?
Data.
Their vast image and video databases from Google Images and YouTube. That's a competitive advantage that's really hard for rivals to match right now.
So is this media prowess the most undeniable strength G3P has demonstrated?
Yes. For image creation, editing, and video understanding, G3P is objectively the visual king. For now.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've established where G3P's raw intelligence wins, but here is where those high benchmark scores get a little uncomfortable. The sources say that for creative tasks, the vibes are off.
It's about that pragmatic, human-centered thinking. G3P is smarter, yes, but its ideas are often, well, very AI ideas.
Meaning they're clever, but not realistic.
Exactly. They sound cool in the abstract, but they lack that human touch.
Let's look at the business planning test for an app store. What did G3P suggest?
It suggested features like a blind mode for users to try apps without any visual context, or a date planner button that optimized meetings.
Technologically interesting, I guess?
Sure, but not things people would actually use. They don't solve real human problems.
And the competing model, GPT 5.1, took a completely different approach.
Totally different. It actually pushed back. It said the user needed reasons to return to the app, focusing on retention. It suggested realistic features like a public build log or leaderboards ideas that were actually implemented. It felt like talking to a human partner.
And that human element extends to the communication style. G3P is described as being very AI researcher.
Yeah, cold, factual, detached. Whereas the competitor is warm. It addresses unstated concerns and goes above and beyond.
For example?
When asked for community ideas, it pivoted to discussing pricing strategy and customer anxieties. Totally unprompted, but highly relevant. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself. That subtle fatigue of talking to a clinical entity for hours. That feeling of connection, that extra mile vibe, it's essential for a long-term partnership.
So if G3P is smarter, why does human-like thinking still win for strategic tasks?
Because strategy requires understanding emotional context and what people actually want, which benchmarks just ignore.
Let's talk dollars and cents. How does the cost compare?
G3P is noticeably more expensive. Input tokens are $2 per million. Output tokens are $12 per million.
And the competitor, GPT 5.1.
That's $1.25 for input and $10 for output. So if you do the math, G3P costs about 60% more for input.
60%. That's a significant gap. For heavy lifting, that adds up fast.
It adds up incredibly fast,
Right.
especially because the best feature is the huge context window. If you're feeding it large documents to analyze, you're paying that premium on every single token.
That impacts the bottom line almost immediately.
For sure, though a cheaper Flash model is likely on the way.
And beyond the current cost, should we expect prices to level out among the major models soon?
Competition will drive prices down, yeah. But for anyone using this at high volume today, G3P Pro's pricing has a significant impact on the budget right now.
Finally, let's revisit coding. Despite that strong raw ability with the game prototype, there's a serious tooling gap.
The issue isn't the model's brain. It's the framework, the surrounding tools, the coding harness.
What's a coding harness in plain English?
It's the thing that remembers where you were 3 days ago and keeps track of a dozen different files for you. It's the workflow layer that makes real projects possible.
And why does Claude Code with Sonnet 4.5 still win here?
Because it has an excellent instruction framework built for extended coding sessions, it manages complex multi-file projects and context-aware editing better than anyone else.
It remembers the whole project structure.
Exactly, not just the last few lines of code.
And Google's AI Studio.
AI Studio is great for those quick V1 builds and prototypes, like the game demo. You can nail one big, impressive code dump.
But not for a long-term project.
No, it's not optimized for iterative development over weeks or months. It tends to lose context.
So where do we draw the line between the models for development?
It's simple. Use G3P for short, V1 prototypes. Use Claude Code for longer, multi-file development sessions.
We've covered a lot of ground. The essential takeaway here seems to be that benchmarks measure capability, but they miss suitability.
That's a perfect way to frame it. The real competitive advantage isn't chasing the model with the highest score. It's knowing how to build a specialized toolkit.
So let's run through that decision matrix we found in the source material.
The quick reference guide.
You should use Gemini 3 Pro for deep research, media generation, rapid prototyping, and quick answers.
Right, it's your specialized high-power engine. But you should use other models like GPT 5.1 for creative writing, strategic business planning.
Anything requiring that human pragmatism.
Exactly. And for long coding sessions and complex apps.
You stick with Claude Code.
If you master that decision-making process, which tool for which job, you're already ahead of most people just chasing the latest chart.
This deep dive really showed us that the best model is just the right model for the job. You need a hammer, a screwdriver, and a wrench.
Don't fall into that trap of trying to use a single AI for everything just because it won an exam. Build your toolkit strategically.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the benchmark paradox.
If AI becomes objectively smarter every few months, but still struggles with basic human pragmatism, what does that really say about the value of human-centered thinking in this new world? Sum them all over.